Welcome back to Hannity. Now, last night, the new Speaker of the House, Congressman Paul Ryan, joined us to discuss the Syrian refugee crisis. Now, in part two of our interview, I asked the Speaker about his agenda, how he plans to tackle our national debt, and much more. Take a look. We talked a lot yesterday about this immigration bill, Syria, and the refugee problem. You're now the new Speaker of the House. I don't know why you took the job. I think your first instincts probably were right, Mr. Speaker. Don't take the job. I don't think I'd ever want your job. You take this job where 60% of Republicans feel betrayed by Washington Republicans. The two big areas, Mr. Speaker, have to do with promises. One, repealing and replacing Obamacare. Two, the 2014 promise to stop executive, illegal, unconstitutional amnesty. And Republicans never got it done. And there's great anger among conservatives. And what I keep hearing from them is, why won't the House Republicans use their enumerated constitutional power of the purse? Are you willing to go that far to fulfill promises? Do you feel responsible for past promises, or do you want to hit the reset button?
Well, I think it's a little more complicated than that. I think we need to put a check on power. I have told people all along we have to be a more effective opposition party, but that means using all the tools at our disposal, Sean. We've gone to court, and the courts have been very successful in stopping the executive amnesty, for example. So I think we have to use all the tools at our disposal.
But not on Obamacare.
Because the power of the purse doesn't work on Obamacare. It's an entitlement. So that's why we're using reconciliation. The Senate will be bringing this bill up next week. Right. So we're using the Budget Act for Obamacare because the power of the purse doesn't work because it's an entitlement. I don't know if you want me to go into the details, but the point I'm trying to say is...
Weren't there certain aspects that could have been defunded? There were parts of Obamacare that could have been defunded?
Not the entitlement, but what Obamacare is an entitlement. That's right. The guts of Obamacare, and that requires 60 votes in the Senate, except if you put it in a budget. So we did this. We've already passed this out of the House. We've passed a number of repeals, and we passed through the budget. The Senate's taking it up next week. So we're using the one crack we have once a year to avoid a filibuster in the Senate, and we're using it for Obamacare. So I think the frustration that I believe me as a House member feel is that the Senate, you can't pass everything you want to pass because they can filibuster all but one bill. And that's the frustration out there. But here's the other key thing, Sean. We have to show people what we stand for. We have to show people we don't like the track we're on in this country. We think the president has taken the country in the direct wrong direction, in the exact wrong direction. So we need to show people who we are and what we believe in. What would we replace Obamacare with? What's a new tax system look like? What does a limited government look like? How do we recover the separation of powers? How do we rebuild our military? How do we have a foreign policy that keeps America safe, that advances our interests? We can't run on vague platitudes. We have to have a specific, coherent agenda, and then let the people in this country choose which path they want to take. And I think after 8 years of Obama, they're not going to have 4 more years of a progressive president. And so one of the conditions on which I took the speakership is I will do this if we put an agenda out there, if we go on offense, on ideas, and if we give the people of this country the election they deserve, we'll just let them decide what kind of country they want to have, what kind of future they want to have. Are we going to tackle the debt? Are we going to take on these issues? And that is what we're going to do in 2016. So yes, I have commitments. We have issues that are being dealt with at the end of the year here. But what I'm most looking forward to is going on offense in 2016 and bringing a coherent, productive, exciting, inspiring, conservative agenda to the country.
You know, it's interesting you say all this because I've been suggesting this now since 2013. In 2014, I laid out what I called the Conservative Solution Caucus, and that would be balancing a budget, explaining to people how to do it. There might be differences, but we can get there. Controlling our borders, choice in education, energy independence, and, of course, a strong national defense. How do you do that? For example, I like the way Newt Gingrich did it. I was there in Georgia. I watched him become Speaker of the House. First time Republicans took power in 40 years. And every interview, he'd pull out of his pocket 10 items. Elect us. We'll do this in 100 days.
I think that's the model. I don't know what we'll call it exactly. This is going to be a bottom-up organic process. I'm also not going to have a top-down speakership. I want the members of Congress to have an equal say-so and to be part of an effort of a movement here. And I think Newt created a good model. That's point one. Point two, one of the reasons I think people asked me to be Speaker, which I wasn't looking for this, I was not a person in elected leadership, I wasn't making these decisions in the past, is because I'm a policy leader and because what I did with my budgets. I put out a budget in 2008 that had 8 sponsors, 8 supporters, balancing the budget, reforming entitlements, doing tax reform, all of those things. I put it all on the line. And we've been able to pass it the last 4 years. But I started with 8 supporters because nobody wanted to touch the political third rail that they thought it was. And so because I have walked the walk in addition to talking the talk, I think that's why people ask me to step up and be speaker. And that's what I want our conference to do on all of these big issues.